welcome to this very special show here on CNN IBN. We'll be looking at how the Union Budget 2011 is going to impact you. In the next 30 minutes, we'll try to answer all your questions. So do keep that in mind. Moneycontrol.com is the website you can go to. Joining me, two prominent experts to answer all your questions. Subhash Malhotra, tax guru, joining us from our Mumbai studio. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Always a pleasure to have you here. Also, Krishan Malhotra, Executive Director, KPMG, in our Noida studio. First to you, Mr. Malhotra, can I get your initial reactions? How do you rate the budget? What do you think?
This time it was very difficult to give my rating because of the proposals that I could see, especially with reference to the direct taxes. Anyway, out of the total number of 10, I think the rating which I would like to give is 4 from total number of 10.
Okay, so you're bordering around not so good. I can't call it average.
Yes.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay. Mr. Malhotra, what do you think?
I think it's in case if you're going to look from the tax perspective, I think it was not much expected because we had an indication by the finance minister that DTC will come. So at this point of time, bringing out something in this budget was not something which was expected, and the only thing we were expecting, that there are few things which we were expecting on the corporate side, where I think there is some sort of the disappointment. But overall, we were not expecting much on the direct tax point of view.
Certainly, so not so much. But let's take a look at what this budget means for you, what it has brought for you, the highlights really. In case the first one, that's the increase in exemption. Now that has been increased to 1.8 lakh rupees from 1.6 lakhs earlier. Corporate surcharge has been reduced to 5%. Now 5 lakh exemption to a new category that has been introduced of very senior citizens who are above 80 years of age. There's a tax off on infrastructure bonds. Now that has been extended by another year. Service excise tax remain unchanged at 10%. And as part of our CNN IBN Axe the Tax campaign, we had requested the finance minister to increase the tax exemption limit to 2 lakh rupees. The government, in fact, has decided to increase it now to 1,80,000 rupees. Remember, our editor-in-chief Rajiv Sardesai did meet the finance minister. Okay, this is your show where we're going to answer all your queries. Our first caller, Mrs. Sashi Dubey, homemaker, joining us from New Delhi. Ma'am, go ahead. What's your question?
My question is, the non-taxable income has been raised to 1.8 lakh this year. Why not 2 lakhs this year?
Okay, why not 2 lakhs? That's a question many of us are really asking. In fact, as part of our Axe the Tax campaign, we had requested the finance minister to take it up to 2 lakhs. Mr. Malhotra, your reactions?
Yes, it's true that we all expected that this year's basic exemption would be minimum 2 lakhs, and particularly in view of the fact that from 1st April 2012 already there is a proposal to make the exemption limit to 2 lakhs, and this year in particular, mainly due to inflation, everyone was expecting that there would be a rise of exemption limit 2 lakhs. But unfortunately, especially for ladies, there has been no increase at all. That means the basic income tax exemption for the ladies will continue to be 1,90,000 only. So madam, as far as you are concerned, I mean the women taxpayer, no relief at all in respect of this year's budget.
Well, many of the women taxpayers in my office too are very mad this time around. Nothing for them. Mr. Malhotra, could the government have gone an extra mile, maybe, increased it to 2 lakh, looking at inflation, oil prices?
I think it was the one which was expected, and Mr. Malhotra very rightly said, and we were really hoping, because the government is not in a position to control the inflation, and it was very highly expected. But I think maybe finance minister thought that he would like to do it in the phased manner, so just giving only 20,000 overall, just benefit of benefit of 2,060 rupees, which comes to 177 rupees per month, which is too small. So maybe he wanted to do it in a phased manner, but I think it was some sort of a disappointment from individual tax perspective that people did not achieve the exemption limit of rupees 2 lakhs.
Okay, certainly this is a disappointment. Okay, I'm also getting an email now from Madhurima in Kolkata. She says, my son was admitted to nursery class this year. I paid a huge sum of 85,000 rupees as his admission fees, including other charges. Can I claim exemption in the new budget? Mr. Lakhotia, nothing changes.
Madam, unfortunately, no changes at all. Rather, we expected, especially in view of the inflation, the government would at least say that within the limit of 1 lakh, which is allowed for education, etc., and insurance, etc., at least not merely the education fee, but school books and the uniform expenses and other expenses for which we have a receipt from the school, all these expenses will be allowed as a deduction. But unfortunately, very sorry to say, government has not listened at all to this point, and more particularly at a time when the inflation rate is so high. It was expected that the government would, especially keeping in view the desire of the government to spread education, they would allow this deduction, the genuine deduction for the cost of the books, the cost of the uniforms and such other expenses. But at least the law as it remains right now, taxpayers must see that only deduction in respect of the school fee alone is claimed as a deduction, no other expenses to be claimed as deduction.
Certainly there were many other expectations also. Brigadier Mahalingam joining us from New Delhi now. Sir, go ahead. What's your question?
A few new measures and additional allocation of funds for the agriculture sectors were made in the budget. Are the measures adequate and commensurate with the national economy to kickstart the agriculture sector and rural well-being?
Okay, this is certainly slightly a deviation from the topic we're discussing, but still, Mr.
I
Malhotra.
think the allocation they emphasize in this budget is mainly on infrastructure and agriculture. So the government really tried to allocate the higher amount, and they have just come out with different schemes. One will really have to see the blueprint, but the way it is coming out, that they have given some incentives to the agriculturist, and they have just come out with some schemes, some higher allocations, wanted to improve the distribution, the systems, so that they can really have a proper chain supply. But we will have to see the fine print to see and really compare to say that is it adequate, or probably they need to do something more than that.
I guess time will tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mr. Lakhotia, the tax ops on infrastructure bond, now that has been extended by another year. Did you expect, looking at how aggressive the government is growing on infrastructure this year too, would you have expected them to raise this?
First, I'll again catch up with the point which my friend just answered. Coming to the agriculture sector, I personally feel that agriculture sector, lot has been done in the budget. Rather, so much has been done that even persons like me, they are tempted to go to the rural area and do agriculture. After all, agriculture income tax free, and also 3% subsidy on the interest which we pay for the loan or for agriculture. So definitely, looking to the amendments proposed, agriculture sector is going to have a wonderful good time. And now coming to the infrastructure sector, old is gold, same thing continues. Right now we all have got a deduction of 20,000 rupees for investment in infrastructure bond. Same deduction continues for the next financial year. Frankly speaking, I had expected that this deduction would go up at least to 50,000 rupees, so that government can help us to get a tax deduction. In turn, we help in taking out our money for the infrastructure projects. But unfortunately, what has happened is old continues, namely no changes at all. Same 20,000 rupees special deduction for investment in infrastructure bond in terms of section 80 CCF. It continues, but please wait. We are not sure whether it will continue or not from 1st April 2012. At least the hope is 1 year further we get the benefit and we enjoy the tax.
Certainly so, and I'm sure, Mr. Lakhotia, if you go into farming, you'll start your own organic farm of sorts. Okay, time for me to take another email query. Sujata Puri, senior citizen, is writing in. She says, my husband will turn 80 in May. Will he be able to avail the benefits for the very senior citizens this year? Also, what are the benefits that he can look forward to?
Certainly, in case if during this financial year, if he would be 80 plus, then certainly he would be treated as a very senior citizen. And I think in this budget they have extended the tax-free income up to rupees 5 lakhs, which is a very good step, I think, towards very senior, the citizens, because you require a higher cost of living, and it's a very good step. And I'm sure that yes, her husband would be able to avail that.
Right. But Mr. Lakhotia, my worry really is how many senior citizens today who filed their tax return earn above 5 lakh rupees.
But the point is, I am confident as an income tax astrologer, I can say that next year there will be large steep increase in the number of taxpayers filing their return who are senior citizens, age group 80 plus. And it's true that under the present income tax law, any time during the financial year you complete 80 years, in that event you get a tax deduction for the whole year. That means income tax exemption limit of 5 lakhs would be applicable whenever you become senior citizen during the whole of the year. The big saving, will be to the tune of 26,000 rupees for senior citizens. Only problem I could say is the ladies will have to declare their age 80 plus if they are to claim the tax benefit of senior citizens.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind. But is there a way where children of parents who are above 80 can claim benefits by investing in their name, or is it even possible?
Yeah, there are certain options, because time to time the government do come out with some bonds and some schemes like that. There are some ways to, but certainly right now I think we should focus to say that it's in a very welcome step. We are not into the planning piece, but certainly it's in a very welcome step, and I think it is going to really give a huge benefit to the people who really can live up to 80 years.
Except for, as Mr. Lakhotia said, ladies having to declare their age, that might be a negative. Okay, I have a caller, Wing Commander J.S. Chadha joining us. Sir, what's your question?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Lakhotia, I would like to know that over and above the little bit of tinkering of rates here and there, incentive here and there, so much of money is being collected.
Yes,
what Mr. Finance Minister has done to make proper use of that money? So we all know that so much of money gets waste. What steps he has taken in the budget so that he makes sure that the money is properly utilized? We all know that how much of corruption is there. A boat with a hole at the bottom will sink sooner or later. So has he contemplated any steps to make sure that the money is properly spent?
Yes, some steps definitely we can see in the proposals of the union budget, but it was expected that, going by the theme of what Mr. Rajiv Gandhi used to say, that out of every rupee spent by the government, hardly 19 paisa would reach the common man. Even today, I don't think the story is a different one. So what the government should do is to ensure that every rupee is spent, at least 80% goes to the persons for whom it is meant. If this is done, then definitely the things will improve and we could see the prosperity in the country all round.
Mr. Malhotra, you have
Yeah, I think what Finance Minister indicated in his speech was that whatever tinkering he has done as far as the direct taxes are concerned, he is going to lose 11,500 crores of rupees, and whatever tinkering he has done in indirect taxes and the service tax, probably he is going to gain 11,200. So as a result, the way he presented, there is in a loss situation of 300 crores. There is not much he is gaining anything out of the taxes. So that's the point just I wanted to bring out.
Right, with that we go into a short break, but Budget in You continues to take your queries, so do log on to moneycontrol.com. Stay with us.
And you are watching CNN IBN.
Welcome back to a very special show, Budget and You, where we are answering your queries. And joining me from Mumbai, tax guru Subhash Lakhotia has been answering all your questions, and also here in the Delhi studio, Mr. Krishan Malhotra, is Executive Director at KPMG in Noida. Let's take our next query right away. Mr. Hemant, he's a business owner in Delhi, joining us. Mr. Hemant, go ahead. What's your question?
Good evening, sir. Middle class family expects some relief in the tax bracket, especially with inflation hitting the roof. Do you think this budget has helped or release some pressure from the middle class family, sir?
Right, Mr. Malhotra, would you be able to tell us how much does an average person really save with this new
No, in case
increase?
if you look into the tax perspective, it's only a saving of 2,060 rupees.
Right.
Because there's only one small tinkering which is done from increasing the limit from 1,60,000 to 1,80,000. Apart from that, there is nothing which has majorly come which could really help us to. But the way the things are coming up. Based on the allocations and plans, there is no change as far as excise customs are concerned. Maybe some reliefs have been given.
Right.
I think it's going to impact. From service taxes, it probably it has been introduced on so many different sectors, which I'm not very sure would really help a middle class. In case because if you would be visiting any hospital which is air conditioned, or you're visiting any restaurant or any hotel where the overall room charge is more than 1,000 rupees, you will have to pay the service tax. So things have become little expensive in terms of. So I'm not very sure in terms of what majorly it has been done to really fight the inflation.
Right. Next caller is Mr. Dheeraj Bhatia from Mumbai. What's your question, sir?
Good evening to everybody. Well, my question is basically on the telecom industry, as a sector which has been hit by huge scams and all that. I want to understand how this budget is helpful to the industry or not.
Anything that you saw, Mr. Lakhotia, in the budget?
Nothing special, not to talk of the scam, not to talk of black money, nothing. The budget is silent with regard to these two items.
Right. Interesting question that I wanted to ask you. One of the things where the FM now has introduced that foreigners can directly buy mutual funds in India. Now, will that have any impact on the savings that we've done in mutual funds at all, Mr. Lakhotia?
Definitely it will have no impact, neither negative nor positive, on the taxpayers in India.
Right.
But definitely it will help the mutual fund industry, because we will be expecting more money coming from abroad. From all those who are not Indians stationed outside, they can easily make their investment in the mutual funds. Instead of going to the stock market, they can take the route of mutual fund. So I feel it will be a good as far as the country is concerned.
Right. And the other interesting point that I wanted to raise here, Mr. Malhotra, is the income tax incentive under 10A, which was given to IT companies. Now that has not been extended. How are they looking at it?
I think that's something which is negative, because it was expected, certainly from 2012 as it is proposed in TTC, those incentives are not going to be there.
Okay.
And it was very highly expected that probably this incentive for 10A would be extended.
Okay.
So there is no extension, that's one. But unfortunately, the other development, because there is another section 10AA which is where the exemptions are given to SEZ.
Okay.
Initially the MAT was not levied. Even on top of that, what they have done it in this year is that even the MAT would be levied on SEZ units as well as on the developers.
Right.
So that's something which is negative.
Right.
Dividend distribution tax was not paid by the developers. There was an exemption, but now again in this budget it has been. So there are certain things which are negative, are going to impact the sector.
So very quickly, how do you rate it? Good, average, bad?
It's an average budget.
Okay, you're saying it's an average, budget.
budget.
Mr. Lakhotia, can I have your call? What would you give this budget?
I think from the answers I think from the answers which you have seen from what I have told you, it is nothing more than average budget.
Right, certainly so. But there were some interesting announcements in the agricultural sector. With that, we come to the end of the show. We've run out of time. Mr. Lakhotia, Mr. Malhotra, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN IBN. Thank you all for calling us and sending us your emails on moneycontrol.com. Thanks for watching.